The sun slips through thin blinds, painting the kitchen table in the same soft gray it has for years. You call him Joao, Maria, or simply you, moves like clockwork: alarm, shower, coffee, keys. The radio talks about traffic and taxes while the mind rehearses the day's liabilities, bills, meetings, the quiet fear that, somewhere between paycheck and payment, there won't be quite enough. He is not lazy, he is not incapable. He is on autopilot, living from the outside in, choosing worry before rising, doubt before trying, and waiting before acting. Those tiny, almost invisible choices stack like invisible coins, and their weight shapes the life he thinks is unavoidable. I stand a step back, not to judge, but to point to what you always miss in the rush, the quiet law that answers not to dramatic leaps but to the rhythm of feeling. Imagine your morning like a radio tuner, the station you lock into each dawn broadcasts through the rest of your day. Lock into scarcity, and the world returns the same static. Tune into expansion, even in small doses, and opportunities begin to hum in harmony. This is not esoteric poetry, it is practice. The law of attraction listens for the dominant emotion, the habitual inner posture that colors every small decision. Listen to the conversation at the sink. He says, "I'll get to it when I have time." The inner voice replies, "Maybe next month." The house accepts both answers and builds them into reality. Now imagine a different exchange. What if I value my time like money? What small step can I take before work? Those questions shift the energy immediately. I'll teach you how to frame mornings with powerful, practical prompts, craft affirmations that feel true instead of forced, visualize without escaping, and take coherent actions that open doors rather than knocking in panic. You do not need a miracle, only a daily discipline that treats prosperity as a practice. Before we move on, pause and tell me, what one small choice could you change tomorrow morning to invite more abundance? If this idea touches you, like to let me know, and if you want the guided tools that follow, stay with me. Your first step toward consistent expansion is coming up next. He moves through the morning like someone walking the same corridor in the dark, hands outstretched, trusting the walls to guide him. The alarm hums at 6:15, he silences it with a thumb, not a thought. In the kitchen the kettle hisses, sunlight slips through blinds and draws tired lines across the counter. Bills lie in a neat stack, edges slightly curled from the week's weight. He glances, breath shortens, and before coffee touches his lips a sentence has already set the tone: "There's never enough." That phrase is not dramatic, but it shapes the day like a slow, steady tide. At the bus stop he watches a young man excitedly talk about a new side project. He smiles politely, then looks down at his shoes and tells himself he has no time, no luck, no room to try. At work he accepts the extra task because he fears saying no will harm him. The overtime measures comfort as survival, not strategy. When an email offers a chance to pitch a small proposal, doubt arrives first: what if I fail? And the email remains unopened until it fades into the background rhythm of maybe next time. The choices are small and endless: the coffee he buys to keep moving, the Facebook group he scrolls through instead of joining a networking call, the phrase, "I can't afford it," muttered as justification for not investing in a course that might shift earnings. These tiny decisions, repeatable, quiet, unremarked, have been building his financial landscape brick by brick. Not catastrophe, but limit. Not poverty, but ceiling. Emotion precedes action, worry greases the path to caution, doubt closes doors before they can be tested. The law at work here is simple and impartial: whatever feeling becomes dominant becomes the magnet. He is not lazy or broken, he is patterned. And patterns can be noticed. You might recognize him. Maybe you are him. What is one small choice you make each morning that nudges your day toward scarcity instead of expansion? Share it below. If you want to learn a practical way to reframe those first 10 minutes and begin choosing abundance on purpose, stay with me, and next, I'll walk you through the exact questions and tiny rituals that turn autopilot into deliberate direction. The kitchen light slips through the blinds in long, forgiving bars. He stands by the counter with a mug warming his hands, the same stack of envelopes he has shuffled for years on the table beside yesterday's coffee ring. I watch him, not with judgment, but with the steady curiosity of someone who has seen autopilot loosen its grip before. Before you do anything, I tell him softly, ask one question that changes the way your morning answers you. He looks up, puzzled. One question, he repeats, voice rough with routine. I suggest, what good can I create today? He tries it like testing a new key in an old lock. He speaks the question aloud, and the room shifts, not dramatically, but in that slow, unhurried way water leans toward warm sunlight. The worry that usually arrives with the first thought of bills finds a new guest at the table, possibility. We breathe with it. I coach him to anchor that question in a short, true affirmation, something he can say while the kettle boils. I am open to opportunities that match my worth. It's not fluff, it's a gentle redirection of the emotional habit. We build a tiny ritual. For 5 minutes, he closes his eyes and visualizes one specific detail, the feeling of checking an account and knowing it's enough, of answering a yes to a client, of being thanked for his work. The image is cinematic but simple, a warm handshake, a clear invoice, a checkmark on a calendar. I ask him to notice the dominant feeling in that scene, relief, pride, lightness. Hold that, I say. Let your body remember this as the default. Then we lay a coherent action, small, deliberate steps that follow the new feeling. Instead of waiting to feel ready, he drafts a single email, sets a call for 10 minutes, or rearranges one line on a budget with the intent that abundance is possible. These choices are tiny, repeatable, and they nudge the law of attraction by changing his emotional gravity. He smiles, surprised by how ordinary it feels to choose differently. If this landed with you, tap like and tell me in the comments, what small question will you ask tomorrow morning? Stay with us, next I'll guide him through a 5-minute morning ritual that turns these shifts into a daily habit. The morning is quiet except for the kettle and the faint rustle of the street waking up. He moves through the kitchen by habit, lights, coffee, phone, eyes sliding past the stack of bills like a drumbeat he has learned to ignore. I watch him there, not judging, but noticing how his first choices set the tone for the day. He reaches for the bank app before he reaches for breath, each balance check tightens his shoulders a fraction, a small contraction that, repeated, becomes the pattern of his life. This is not a failure. It is a worn groove. I step closer, voice steady. Before you greet the numbers, ask one question, what feeling do I want to carry today? He looks up, surprised. I want calm, he says, almost embarrassed by the simplicity. We try it again, and I give him 3 short, manageable tools, questions that reframe, phrases that shift the dominant emotion, and an action that honors both. First, the morning question, instead of hunting for problems, ask, what small thing today would make me feel more abundant? That one question redirects attention from lack to possibility. Second, an aligned affirmation, 2 lines he can speak while the kettle hums. I am open to good arriving in expected and unexpected ways. I deserve clarity and take steps toward it. Say it slowly, feel the chest loosen. Then a tiny visualization, close your eyes for 60 seconds and imagine one concrete scene, an email that brings an opportunity, a hand shaking across a new table. Not a fantasy of riches, but the sensory detail of one real step. Finally, coherent action, one small, deliberate move within the hour, send that message, make that call, tidy one financial file. The goal is not to force miracles but to train feeling and attention to match what you want. He repeats the practices with fumbling care. The apartment light takes on a different color, the bills are still there, but the knot in his stomach eases. I ask him quietly, which one will you do tomorrow? He hesitates, then nods. You at home, what small choice will you change today to invite more abundance? If this landed with you, tap like and stay with me, and next we'll watch the first ripple of these tiny disciplines become visible and test the resistance that follows. The kitchen light is soft, steam lifts from a mug, the clock ticks, and he moves through each motion with the same predictable rhythm. I stand beside him, not to lecture but to witness. What's the first thing you tell yourself when you wake? I ask. He pauses, the spoon hovering, as if the question has weight. Bills, traffic, not enough, he admits. The words are small but they set the tone for the whole day. I lean in and offer a different kind of question, one that nudges attention rather than pushes it. What if, for 3 minutes, you asked, what good could come to me today? He tries it, uncertain, and the room changes. The worry still sits, but a crease of curiosity appears at the eyebrow. That crease is where transformation begins. We practice an affirmation together, not a shouted mantra but an intimate promise. I am ready to receive the opportunities I've been overlooking. He says it aloud, slower this time, feeling how the chest relaxes when words align with breath. The affirmation is a tool to shift his dominant feeling from scarcity to readiness. It doesn't erase problems, it repositions him in relationship to them. I guide him through a brief visualization. He closes his eyes, sunlight slipping under a new door, the sound of a friendly voice calling with an offer, an unexpected payment clearing. It's vivid, sensory, warmth on the skin, a check sliding into an account, the relief of a laugh. The image sticks because it's believable and simple. He holds it for a moment and opens his eyes different than before. Then we act. Not grand leaps, but modest, coherent steps. He replies to an old email that had potential, clears one corner of his desk, lists one small financial goal with a tiny deadline. Each act aligns with the new feeling, each completed item sends a quiet signal to his mind and to the world that he is now available for prosperity. By noon the tension has eased, small wins have weight. He walks differently, notices a busker's melody, smiles when the barista accidentally gives him an extra pastry. I watch him collect these signs like breadcrumbs. If this resonates, tap like and tell me below, what small choice will you change today to invite more abundance? Stay with me, the next step is to weave these choices into a morning ritual that makes prosperity inevitable. He wakes before the sun, the kitchen light a pale promise. The sound of the kettle is ordinary, ritual, almost mechanical, until today a pause forms between his shoulders and his breath. The mentor's voice, calm and steady like a lighthouse, slips into that gap. Where are you choosing worry before you even begin? He glances at the stack of envelopes, the car keys, the calendar crowded with obligations. For years those small things have nested into a single, heavy expectation, scarcity. I watch him set his mug down and, for the first time in a long time, ask a different question. Not how will I pay this, but what good could this open? He frowns, unfamiliar, then softens. The apartment fills with the smell of coffee and the quieter electricity of curiosity. He speaks aloud, a small ritual that rewires feeling, I am open to receive practical, inspired opportunities now. The words are simple, almost humble, but they land in his chest and change the posture of his day. Outside, the city moves on autopilot, buses, dog walkers, the same faces at the corner store, but his inner weather has shifted. He closes his eyes and sees a brief, specific image, an email sent with calm confidence, a phone call that offers a clear, small value, a new client nodding across a table. The visualization is not a fantasy, it's a directed attention to the next plausible step. The mentor instructs, make one coherent action that matches that image. Not a shout into the void, but a single, aligned move. He opens his laptop. He writes one concise message to an old contact, offering help on a simple project. The text is steady, not desperate. He hits send. There is no dramatic thunder, only the soft chime of a reply later that afternoon, curious and willing. The relief is not instant wealth, it is the proof that the pattern of small choices is changing the pattern of results. This is the practice, the morning question, the aligned affirmation, the 3-minute visualization, the one concrete action. Do it every day and the law of attraction answers the steady posture, not the one-off leap. If this landed with you, give it a like and tell me in the comments, what small choice will you change today to invite more abundance? Subscribe if you want the next guided routine, tonight's ritual that seals the day and primes tomorrow. The kitchen light slips across the table like a quiet promise. He stands there, wrinkled bills beside a half-drunk coffee, keys in his hand. When I ask the first question, before you move, what do you choose to feel? He frowns, surprised, as if the idea of choosing a feeling is foreign. He answers aloud, small and honest, less worried. I nod, and the room seems to shift, worry loosens its grip by a fraction. We try another, what went right yesterday? He lists 3 tiny wins: an on-time payment, a kind text from a client, a good night's sleep. As he speaks, his shoulders relax. Each recalled win recalibrates the inner scale from scarcity toward possibility. I show him how to frame a simple affirmation, not a reckless promise, but a posture: I open to steady growth and trust the next step. He repeats it like a vow to himself, and the cadence of his breath matches the words. They land differently than bold claims: quiet, believable, grown from facts. Then I guide him to a visualization that isn't fanciful, a short, precise rehearsal. Close your eyes, I say. See your day as you want it, returning calls with calm, reading a clear email that leads to a small yes, feeling money arrive like rain in a jar you open gratefully. We fill the scene with sensory details: the click of a confirming email, the warmth of a handshake, sunlight on a deposit slip. He opens his eyes, and for the first time in months, possibility tastes specific. We plan one aligned action, something tiny and coherent with that feeling. He writes a single sentence to a potential client, asking a question instead of demanding an outcome. He sets a timer for 20 minutes to follow up on an unpaid invoice. These are not leaps, they are proof to his nervous system that expansion is a habitable state. He moves through each small act with attention, and the day responds. I lean closer and ask you, watching, what small choice could you change tomorrow morning to invite more abundance? If this landed for you, give it a like and tell me below, then stay with me for the next step, where these daily practices meet momentum and the first tangible opportunities begin to appear. The morning light finds him again, but today it lands differently, soft through curtains he almost never remembers opening, warming the mug he cradles as if it were a small promise. He breathes in, and the guide's voice, gentle, certain, hovers at the edge of his thoughts: you do not need to sprint, you need to choose. In the kitchen, coffee steam threads into a new rhythm, a question he asks himself before the first email, before the first bill. What outcome am I activating with this first feeling? The question is small, almost rude in its simplicity, but already it reorders the furniture of his day. He says aloud, hesitantly at first, today I look for evidence of expansion, and the words sit on the table like a tiny lamp. The guide teaches him to hold that lamp for 3 breaths, to let attention scan not for lack but for even the smallest nudge of possibility: a respectful voicemail, a returned call, a miscalculated refund. Those nudges arrive, the way a tide returns when you stop digging at the sand. He begins to notice synchrony: an old client reaches out, a neighbor mentions an unexpected opening, a long-ignored idea surfaces with clarity. Each coincidence is not magic separate from him, it's the universe reflecting a new, quieter inner posture. There are slips, an unpaid charge, a moment of old fear, and he meets them without drama now. So it shows up, he jokes, as if to an old friend. The guide replies, it will, until you stop rehearsing it. Instead of shame, he chooses curiosity. He tweaks his morning question. He replaces the habitual worry with a tiny action: one follow-up email, one gratitude noted, one mental picture of counting forward instead of backward. The repetition is modest but disciplined. Prosperity begins to look less like a distant jackpot and more like a steady accumulation of aligned moves. In his living room, as dusk makes the room an intimate theater, he writes one aligned affirmation on a sticky note and places it where the light catches it each morning. He feels the steadying of a pulse in his chest, the dominant feeling shifting from reactiveness to invitation. If this feels like a step you could take tomorrow, tap like to let me know. Tell me in the comments, what small choice will you change at sunrise? And if you want the practical ritual that sealed his shift, stay with me. There is one clear exercise coming next that turns these habits into momentum. The guide watches him in the thin light of morning, his kitchen quiet except for the kettle's soft hiss. He moves like someone trained to repeat, face softened by habitual worry. The mentor's voice is gentle but specific: ask the question before the worry. What would abundance feel like right now? He hesitates, cup warming his hands, then speaks aloud, surprised by the steadiness in his own voice: calm. Enough. Possibility. That tiny reframe folds the day into a different shape. We follow him through small, cinematic moments: the jar of coins he used to avoid counting, now opened with curiosity, the stack of bills on the table, addressed with a clear breath and a 3-word affirmation, I am capable. He visualizes the invoice paid, the relief spreading like sunlight across his living room floor. It's not fantasy, it's intention with the texture of habit. The mentor nudges him, real prosperity shows up where emotion leads attention, so he chooses feelings that match the outcome he wants again and again. A neighbor knocks. He could decline, slip into scarcity talk, instead he practices coherent action. He offers to help with a small errand, and that willingness opens a connection that will later become an opportunity. Dialogue is quiet but revealing. Why are you smiling? The neighbor asks. I started my day differently, he replies, and small choices are stacking. The smile is a mirror. There are setbacks, an unexpected expense, a moment of old fear. The mentor doesn't erase them, he teaches recovery. Name the feeling, breathe, then do one aligned thing, she says. He pays a tiny bill online, sends one thoughtful email he'd been postponing, and closes the laptop with a sense of completion. Each action, when aligned with a settled inner posture, moves the vibration toward abundance. This is vibrational discipline, less drama, more devotion. If this resonates, tap like, simple approval that tells your inner guide you're listening. Tell me in the comments, what small choice will you change today to invite more abundance? Stay with him a little longer. The next morning brings an unusual knock that tests every new habit he's built. He stands again at the same kitchen window where we first met him, coffee cooling in his hands, city lights soft on the countertops, but there is a new steadiness to his breath. The morning ritual that used to be a chain of automatic reactions now holds space, a question whispered before the alarm's second ring, an affirmation muttered like a quiet promise, a 2-minute vision of doors opening instead of doors closing. I watch him choose gratitude where he once chose worry, curiosity where he once chose doubt. It is small, almost invisible, and it is everything. You can see how the world responds. The neighbor who always shuffled past now pauses with a smile. An email arrives that doesn't demand panic but invites possibility. He calls a client he used to avoid, not because the outcome is certain, but because his feeling about the call has shifted from scarcity to competent expectation. Each small act of alignment is a pebble dropped into a pond, the ripples come in unexpected directions, an introduction, an idea, a fee a few dollars larger than before. Nothing miraculous, only consistent momentum that changes how opportunities find him. I step closer, not as a teacher but as a companion. Remember, I say, prosperity is not a prize you win once. It's a posture you choose every morning. He nods, not theatrically, but with the quiet acceptance of someone who knows the hard work of a life well lived. We laugh at how stubborn the old patterns were, then make a pact to be kinder to ourselves the next time fear knocks. The pact is simple: ask a single calibrating question first thing, say an aligned affirmation, imagine the day as abundant, and take one coherent step, even if small. If you are watching this, imagine your own kitchen light, your own 2 minutes of intention. Which tiny decision will you change tomorrow to invite more abundance? If that question finds you, tap the like if it landed, share your choice below, let others feel the permission to begin. If you want more practical pathways to keep this daily discipline alive, subscribe and walk with me. There are more tools ahead to turn that steady rhythm into lasting prosperity.